This episode is called Mummy's Midnight Marathon. It starts with a flashback to 3,000 years ago, where we see our mummy living the life of a pharaoh, complete with a hot air balloon ride and two female servants fanning him as he relaxes. It's pretty clear this guy was pretty good looking back in the day, but now, not so much. In the present day, we find out that the museum has decided to host a pyramid-wide sleepover for charity, and it's set to be the biggest event of the year. There are 5 teams of kids competing, and each team has one adult chaperone. The prize for first place is a replica of the sarcophagus from King Tut's tomb. Second place gets a replica of a lesser-known pharaoh, and third place gets a replica of a random rock. Honestly, not sure why they even bothered with the other prizes. If everyone just wants to win the King Tut replica. The rules of the scavenger hunt are simple. Each team must solve a series of riddles that will lead them to the next clue, and the first team to get all the clues and return to the starting point wins. Our 4 protagonists have ended up on the same team as well as the mummy, and they seem fairly confident about winning. But their overconfidence quickly fades away when they see how many teams are competing. As the whistle blows, all the teams rush to the exit and make their way into the dark pyramid. As soon as the teams leave, however, the mummy looks at the empty space next to him and starts complaining about how no one asked him to be on a Kid-S team. He then takes a moment to look over his old bandages and complains that his dating profile pic is from 3,000 years ago. Meanwhile, the teams are now running through the tunnels beneath the pyramid. After a bit of searching, the kids find some hieroglyphics that resemble a map. They realize that by following the path on the hieroglyphics, they can open the door to the next room. Next, they must navigate a laser maze. Fortunately, our team has brought flashlights, so they shine those into the red dots to deactivate the lasers and pass through. They then arrive at a long hallway lined with pillars. At the end of the hall is a massive stone slab with what looks like a giant eye in the middle of it. The eye turns out to be a pressure plate, and stepping on it reveals the next clue. The clue leads them to a secret passageway behind one of the pillars, which conveniently opens up right into the next room. There they find an enormous statue of Anubis, the Egyptian god of the afterlife. On his hand is a golden scarab beetle, and when they turn it over, it reveals a riddle that reads, "Find where darkness sleeps during the day." This tells them to go to the bottom of the pyramid, where the sunlight doesn't reach. Upon arriving, they see that there are 3 sarcophagi in front of them. To figure out which one they need to open, they must answer another riddle. What is always coming, but never arrives? The answer: tomorrow. This tells them to check the sarcophagus that has the hieroglyphics for tomorrow on it. Inside is a chest containing their next clue. The clue leads them to an antechamber filled with mummies. One of the mummies suddenly leaps up, scaring the pants off our protagonists. He then proceeds to tell them a story about how he used to be a strong and respected warrior, But after he died, he was cursed to wander the earth as a mummy and scare people out of their wits. He then disappears after saying that they should probably move along. Our team is now moving through a labyrinth filled with traps. Every time they step in the wrong direction, they have to listen to the mummy reminisce about how great his biceps were back in the day. Eventually, they find a lever which they pull to open up the next door. Behind the door is a pair of Ankh symbols. They have to line up the symbols to open the door. But it's tricky because they keep getting knocked out of alignment by the swinging pendulum. They eventually figure out that the only way to beat the trap is to sneak past the door while the pendulum is swinging. They make it through and grab the clue inside. The clue leads them to a courtyard with a single obelisk in the middle. On the obelisk is a tablet containing the final riddle. I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I? The answer is a map. Realizing this gives them the strength to push over the obelisk and claim their prize. As they return to the entrance, they find that they aren't the first ones there. The mummy had beaten them by a landslide. When they ask how he did it, he simply replies that he unwrapped later. He then mentions that he plans on using the replica sarcophagus as a footrest. But before he can do that, the adults begin to show up. One of the adults, presumably from another team, asks where the mummy went. They all look around confused until they hear someone say, "Who's the mummy?" In response to this, the mummy pops out from behind a pillar and scares them all away. Then he excitedly runs off to go claim his footrest. Later on, we see the mummy relaxing in his new footrest. He then leans back and notices a hole in the fabric of his bandages. He pulls it open and finds a spider crawling inside. He freaks out and tries to smash the bug, but it ends up biting him. As he screams in pain, we see the perspective of the spider, who simply shrugs and says, "No big deal. You're not even the spidery type." The camera pans out and we see that the entire footrest is covered with spiders. One of the spiders confirms that the mummy is, in fact, in trouble. After a few minutes, the mummy runs outside the pyramid, completely naked, to escape the bugs. He then immediately regrets this decision when he sees all the media waiting for him. One of the reporters asks why he was carrying a sarcophagus, and the mummy jokingly responds that he was hoping to sell it on eBay. Another reporter then asks how he feels about being the last mummy unwrapped in the US. The mummy responds that he's fine with it and that he was getting tired of being wrapped anyway. A young girl then asks, "But won't you be cold?" To which he responds, "Nah, I'm used to it. I was frozen for 3,000 years. Being cold is like my thing." The girl then suggests that he should just wrap himself in toilet paper instead. The mummy looks at her for a moment before responding, "Good idea, kid. I'd like to thank you for your support." He then turns and walks away, bumping into a trash can and knocking himself unconscious. Later on, the museum staff are doing a bit of cleaning up when they come across the mummy. They help him clean himself up and take him to the back room to patch him up. Along the way, they discuss whether or not they should put him back on display. One of them argues against it, saying that they should let him rest for a while. She then says that she thinks he would enjoy listening to some modern music. At that moment, the mummy wakes up and overhears her. He responds by asking what she thinks he looks like, a teenager. She says that he looks like a man in his late 20s. He thanks her for the compliment before asking if she could put on some music. While she goes to get her phone, he says to himself, "Old enough to party, young enough to love me." And that's the end of the episode. If you like this video, please subscribe and check out the rest of the content.